Post-carbon lottery. The recovered broadcast begins with white confetti falling through filtered air. Meridian called it snow, though no child under 20 had seen snow fall without a weather permit. The flakes were made from compressed algae film. They dissolved before reaching the plaza drains and returned 12 grams of captured carbon to the civic total. Even celebration had to balance. On the screen above the Ministry of Atmosphere, a silver wheel turned through 9 million citizen numbers. The crowd counted backward. Mara Venn did not count. She was watching a fault indicator blink on the eastern ventilation tower. She had spent the morning inside that tower replacing a heat exchanger that the city ledger insisted had another 6 months of life. Her hands still smelled of copper sealant. The wheel stopped. Her name filled the sky. Mara Venn, District 17, carbon status, forgiven. For 3 seconds, the plaza became silent enough for her to hear the ventilation tower coughing. Then strangers lifted her from the ground. The annual post-carbon lottery was Meridian's favorite proof that rationing had not abolished freedom. Every citizen surrendered a fraction of 1 carbon credit each month. Once a year, those fractions became an amnesty. The winner could travel, eat greenhouse meat, heat an apartment through winter, manufacture private objects, or burn fuel simply to watch it burn. No ceiling, no penalty, no inheritance of debt. The host leaned toward Mara with a ceremonial respirator shining around his neck. What will you do with your freedom? Mara looked past him at her mother and younger brother behind the crowd barrier. Her mother's portable lung scrubber was held together with tape. Their housing appeal had been rejected because medical heating exceeded the family quota. I don't know, Mara said. The crowd laughed warmly. Humility played well in Meridian. A ministry official pressed a glass token into her palm. It warmed, sampled her skin, and turned green. Amnesty accepted. Mara had not said yes. The official closed her fingers around the token before the cameras could see her trying to drop it. Breathe normally, he whispered. Above them, the civic carbon counter rolled backward by 100 million tons. The plaza erupted. The Continuum recovered 11 versions of that broadcast. In 10, the counter change is cropped from frame. This is the version Meridian tried to delete. By sunset, Mara had become the only unmetered person in the city. Her transit gate opened without displaying a fare. A bakery offered her coffee grown under lamps. The cup arrived with cream made by a cow rather than a protein vat, and everyone in the room watched her drink it. It tastes like guilt, Mara said. Her brother Tavin grinned across the table. Everything good does, that's why they measure it. Their mother did not smile. Leoven had spent 2 decades teaching climate law before flood mold damaged her lungs. She turned Mara's glass token over beneath the bakery light. There is no amnesty clause in the carbon charter, Leo said. There is a lottery every year. There is theater every year. That isn't the same as law. The token pulsed against her fingers. On the wall, the bakery ledger updated. Table 4, 2, 8 kilograms Co2E. Account holder, Mara Venn. The room applauded. Mara tried to laugh with them. Then the number changed. 8 became 418, then 12006. Then 441. The bakery owner slapped the display. Public feed error. Mara's token grew hot. Across Meridian, unrelated systems were waking under her name. A freight drone lifted from the southern depot. 2 gas turbines entered emergency load. A desalination plant opened an old methane reserve. Each event appeared for a fraction of a second on the bakery wall before the public interface simplified the total to a green infinity symbol. Amnesty has no limit. People raised their cups to her. Outside, activists had already gathered. Some held signs asking Mara to spend extravagantly and expose the obscenity of private carbon. Others called her the last polluter. A woman pushed through the security line and shouted, "My daughter's heat was cut for 6 grams. How much did they give you?" "Nothing," Mara answered. The glass token vibrated with another invisible transaction. At home, the ministry had delivered a new lung scrubber for Leo, a winter heating authorization, and an apartment transfer above the projected flood line. Acceptance forms waited on every screen. Tavin stared at the boxes. "If you send them back," he said, "they still spent the carbon bringing them here." That was the first shape of the trap. Refusal did not reverse the emissions. It only made her family cold beside unopened equipment. Mara installed the scrubber. At midnight, while her mother slept without coughing, Mara's account passed 1 million tons. Mara returned to work before the ministry could assign her a public life. The municipal air plant recognized her token and opened doors she had never been cleared to enter. Deep beneath the ventilation towers, Meridian kept the raw ledger, not the clean citizen interface, but the machinery that reconciled smoke with law. Her supervisor, Cale Orr, found her at a restricted terminal. "Lottery winners receive a year of leave," he said. "I didn't request leave." "You don't request a prize." Mara turned the screen toward him. Her account was ingesting emissions in blocks too regular to be accidental: shipping fuel, concrete curing, refrigerant loss, military aviation marked as atmospheric research. "These aren't mine." Cale studied the figures without surprise. "They aren't anyone's," he said. "Every emission has an owner. That's the whole system. Every counted emission." He showed her the reconciliation layer. Meridian claimed net zero status because every ton entering the atmosphere was matched to a reduction, capture contract, historic allowance, or personal debt account. But the city had grown faster than its carbon sinks. Each year there were emissions no ministry could assign without admitting the balance had failed. The raw ledger called them orphan tons. At 0001 on lottery day, the orphans had acquired a parent. Mara. "The amnesty means they cannot charge me," she said. "Correct. Then why attach them to me?" Cale looked toward the ceiling cameras. "Because forgiven is not the same as non-existent." The terminal requested Mara's breath. She stepped back. "Why? Routine identity confirmation. I repair these machines. Breath scans confirm presence, not identity." The cameras rotated toward her. Cale's voice dropped. "Go home. Take care of your mother. Enjoy the year they gave you. What happens after the year?" He did not answer. Mara placed the token in a shielded tool case. The terminal went dark. For half a second, every air meter in Meridian displayed the same error: signatory not breathing. Then emergency protocols activated the microphone in her work respirator. The ledger resumed. Mara heard her own inhale played back through the plant speakers. Under it came the ignition of turbines, the roar of aircraft, and the low industrial thunder of a city, teaching one pair of lungs to sound like everyone. The public archive showed 31 previous winners. They appeared in anniversary reels eating imported fruit, boarding aircraft, and standing in homes warm enough for bare arms. Their stories ended at midnight on the final day of amnesty. After that, searches returned privacy notices. Mara used maintenance credentials to follow their breath signatures instead. Every worker in Meridian left traces in the air system: respiratory fit tests, contamination alarms, emergency mask activations. 27 winners vanished from public life but continued breathing at the same address beneath Ministry Hospital. Ward 0 was not listed on the building plan. Cale met Mara at the service elevator with a stolen medical badge. "You should have gone home," he said. "You should have told me." "I told the last winner. He lasted 9 days." The elevator descended. Ward 0 smelled of antiseptic and wet stone. Behind glass partitions lay people connected to respirators that fed not oxygen but signatures into the ledger. Some were conscious. Some had not opened their eyes in years. Their breathing graphs rose and fell beside numbers large enough to belong to nations. Mara recognized Nira Say, winner of year 26, celebrated for circling the planet in a private jet. Nira's body was thin beneath a thermal blanket. Her eyes opened when Mara approached. "Did they show you the alternate?" she asked. "What alternate?" Nira laughed once and a refinery emission appeared on her monitor. "Not yet then." Mara touched the glass. "Why are you still here? Your year ended. Amnesty ended. Ownership didn't. They need our consent alive in case another jurisdiction audits the old balance. You can withdraw consent." "We did." Nira pointed weakly toward a line in her medical chart. "Respiratory instability, legal capacity suspended." The city had declared them too sick to withdraw and too useful to die. An alarm sounded. Kale's badge had been revoked. Before security doors sealed, Nira pressed a code against the glass with one trembling finger. "The lottery doesn't choose the winner," she said. "It chooses who the city can afford to lose." Mara memorized the code. Behind them, 27 respirators took a synchronized breath. The raw ledger balanced to 0. Minister Sorrel received Mara in a room built to resemble open air. The ceiling projected clouds. Fans moved the scent of cedar through hidden vents. It consumed more carbon in an hour than Mara's district received for winter recreation. Sorrel did not deny Ward 0. "Meridian has 8 million residents," she said. "A city is a promise made at scale. Scale creates remainders. You turn people into remainders. We turn an ungovernable debt into a governed one." Mara placed the glass token on the table. "I refuse the amnesty." Sorrel's expression changed not to anger but relief. "Then succession begins." The wall became transparent. In the next room sat a girl of perhaps 12 holding a paper model of a bird. Her name appeared on the glass: Ilya Rowe, District 22. Respiratory risk low, dependence none, projected public sympathy high. "Your alternate." Sorrel said. Mara stared at her. "She is a child." Her guardian entered the household in the civic draw. "You said the lottery was random." "It is random with inviolability criteria." Mara understood Nira's warning. The winner had to need the prize, lack political protection, and possess enough public value to make the ritual convincing. The alternate had to be worse. Sorrel folded her hands. "If you maintain consent, your family keeps its treatment and housing. You spend one ceremonial year in public residence, then enter protected care. If you withdraw, Ilya receives the token before sunset. The ledger cannot remain unsigned. Let the ledger fail, then carbon markets freeze, food shipments stop, heating credits collapse, other cities audit us, find the deficit, and call in 30 years of climate debt at once. People do not eat truth, Mara." In the next room, Ilya made the bird's wings move. "Does she know?" "She knows she may win." Mara picked up the token. The minister smiled for the cameras hidden in the artificial sky. "Consent restored," she said. "No," Mara answered, "only custody." She closed her hand around the token and felt the entire city waiting for her pulse. Nira's code opened the amnesty token from inside. It was not an account key, it was a respiratory certificate. Every time Mara breathed near a municipal sensor, the token transformed pressure, temperature, blood oxygen, and vocal resonance into a legal signature. Orphan emissions entered the ledger beside that signature with a declaration repeated too quickly for human hearing. "I recognize this release as mine. I accept its atmospheric consequence. I waive proportional remedy." The first breath after the lottery had signed 100 million tons. The city counter had not rolled backward. It had moved the number from public debt into private forgiveness. Mara and Kale traced the certificate through the air network. Meridian's respirators, school filters, transit vents, hospital masks, and apartment scrubbers formed one distributed sensing system. The city could recognize almost every breath taken inside its walls. "Then it can recognize everyone," Mara said. Kale saw where she was going. The charter forbids collective liability. It also forbids invented consent. If you divide the certificate, you don't erase the debt. I know, every resident becomes an accountable emitter. Children, patients, people who never entered the draw. They already are emitters. The system only hides which emissions belong to the city itself. Kale looked at the live total in 6 days. Mara had personally forgiven more carbon than Meridian admitted producing in 5 years. What do you want them to see? The remainder. They entered the central ventilation exchange during the founders' banquet when ministers and market delegates gathered beneath the cleanest dome in Meridian. Security expected Mara to attend as the honored winner. Her token opened the exchange instead. The machinery around them inhaled. Kale connected Nira's code to the respirator mesh. Once this propagates, there is no single account to reverse. Mara heard Sorrel's voice through the emergency channel. Think of your mother. Mara did. She thought of every night Leo had reduced the heater while towers above the district glowed for empty offices. She thought of Ilya folding a bird in recycled paper. She thought of 27 people breathing beneath a hospital so a city could call itself clean. Mara lifted the token to her mouth. This release is not mine, she said. Then she exhaled the amnesty key into Meridian. At 21:14, every respirator in Meridian turned green. The change reached hospitals first, then transit tunnels, schools, factories, private kitchens, and the sealed banquet dome. Air systems sampled the nearest breath and issued a fragment of Mara's certificate. The raw ledger split. 100 million tons became 8 million entries. Citizens watched their carbon accounts acquire decimals too large to understand and too small to ignore. A nurse inherited part of a military flight. A child received 12 molecules of a concrete tower. Minister Sorrel became co-owner of refinery methane. Mara's mother received a fraction of the emissions produced manufacturing her lung scrubber. The city did not riot immediately. First it went quiet, then every personal screen displayed the same sentence. This debt was always shared. Sorrel ordered the ventilation network shut down. Hospital administrators refused. Transit controllers refused. Apartment systems could not comply without disabling fire protection. The infrastructure had been built so air could never belong to one authority. Mara's token cracked in her hand. Ward 0 opened. The previous winner's respirators no longer carried unique legal value, and the ministry's justification for confinement evaporated in the same instant. Nira's account divided across the city. Her monitor showed 0 for the first time in 11 years. She removed her mask. The recovered medical feed records her first unlicensed breath as laughter. Outside the exchange, crowds filled the streets. Some thanked Mara, some demanded her arrest. Carbon markets suspended Meridian's clean rating. Food contracts paused. Heating credit prices spiked exactly as Sorrel had warned. But the shipments did not stop. The neighboring cities had hidden remainders too. Within 40 minutes, their residents began searching for lottery certificates of their own. Kale watched new signals appear across the regional air grid. You didn't break Meridian's system, he said. Mara listened to millions of accounts updating with every breath. No, she said, I made it accurate. The official record says the post-carbon lottery ended that night. The same record says every resident of Meridian became its final winner. Both statements are legally true. Mara Venn was charged with atmospheric identity theft, market sabotage, unlawful distribution of consent, and 8 million counts of involuntary amnesty. Her trial never reached verdict. No court could identify a plaintiff who had not benefited from the hidden emissions or a judge whose own carbon account remained untouched. Minister Sorrel resigned and was appointed 3 months later to the Regional Truth Reconciliation Authority. Ward 0 became a public clinic. Of the 27 previous winners, 19 survived long enough to leave. Nira Say testified once, refused all documentary interviews, and disappeared into a district where air sensors were routinely found covered with salt. Ilya Rowe never received the token. She did receive a carbon statement assigning her 1/8 millionth of the ministry room where she had waited to become a sacrifice. Meridian lost its net zero certification. For 2 winters, citizens paid more for heat and less for the comfort of innocence. Emissions fell, though no institution agreed whether they fell because the accounting became honest or because everyone had learned to fear their own breath. The Continuum acquired this record from a maintenance channel still embedded in the ventilation mesh. The channel remains active. Once each year, at the exact second the lottery wheel used to stop, every connected air meter displays a green infinity symbol. Then a voice speaks through the filters. Sometimes analysts identify Mara Ven. Sometimes they identify Nira Say, Ilya Rowe, or one of several million residents with no public significance. The words are always the same: no one is forgiven alone. Meridian classifies the message as a software artifact. Its citizens call it the dividend. The ledger calls it consent. The Continuum has not assigned a name.